Good morning. My name is Sister Joan Brinks. I'm a member of the pastoral care team here at Mount St. Francis Center. We welcome all of you who have gathered here in Clare House Chapel, those watching on the in-house system, as well as Sister Shirley's family and friends who are joining us via live stream. Growing up as the only girl among 5 brothers, Shirley felt rather special and loved in her immediate family. That love carried her forward in following her call to become a Franciscan sister. With her intelligence and wit, her musical and artistic flair, she shared many gifts and talents as she embraced others with warmth. Shirley's innate fashion sense was seen on the outside, but more than that, her beauty shimmered from within. She was gifted with a deep spirituality, and she welcomed all around her with a gracious spirit. Her care and concern, tenderness and compassion mirrored Christ and that of St. Francis. She found happiness, joy, and peace in loving others and being loved. Even in her later years, when Shirley was mostly nonverbal, she communicated her love through her sparkling eyes, bright smile, and dancing feet as she sat in her wheelchair. Yes, death has taken Shirley away physically, but her love for us will go on forever. As we remember and celebrate the life of Sister Shirley, let us join in singing the song Age to Age, number 510, verses 2 and 3. 510, verses 2 and 3.
Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. For now we see only a reflection, as in a mirror, but then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. But now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love.
I forgot to mention earlier, a special welcome to Sister Shirley's family. You have our prayers and sympathy. Now is our time to share memories of Sister Shirley. Please raise your hand and we will bring a microphone to you. Please state your name and stand if you are comfortable.
Those who knew Sister Shirley in her early years knew that she had a great desire to become a Franciscan. One day, when she was a junior at Immaculate Conception Academy up the hill, her teacher, Sister Colette Marie, said to her, "Why don't you go up right now and sign up to join?" So Shirley traipsed up the hill, met with Sister Mother Ruth Mary, and signed her papers. On coming back, she and several others of us ate lunch together, and she looked at me and she said, "Mary Lou, I signed up, you do it now too." So on August 25th, the two of us debukers at 6 o'clock at night came up to Mount St. Francis. Sister Carol Hemasop was also a classmate down at ICA with us, and she remembers how Shirley and Mark Petch were the two physical therapists at Xavier Hospital.
I'm Sister Lois Erpelding, and I have a Kamentz from Randy Kamentz, a nephew. I'm Sister Shirley's oldest nephew. To say Sister was devoted to her family would be an understatement. She was always there for all of us. The following story will help demonstrate my point. When I was in high school, I was thinking about becoming a missionary brother. I was having a difficult time discerning if this was what I really meant to do with my life. So I called Sister Shirley to ask her for her advice. She said, ultimately, the choice must be mine. I pressed her on and asked her if I should be looking for a sign from God. She said she had a story that may help me decide. There was a teenage farm boy that was laying in the field watching the cloud formations and trying to decide what he wanted to do with his life. He was not overly ambitious, and he knew being a farmer would be hard work. He asked God for a sign. All of a sudden, he saw a cloud formation that spelled the letters PC. That's it, he thought. God wants me to preach Christ. He knew being a pastor was an easy life. After all, how hard could it be? He only works one day of the week on Sundays. The young man rushed into town to talk with his priest. He excitedly told the priest his story about PC in the clouds. The priest, knowing the young man, was not very studious, actually quite lazy, and probably not the right stuff for a priest. The priest replied that God sometimes does send a sign. However, in this case, I think God was not saying PC meant preach Christ, but plow corn. Sister Shirley has many attributes, and one of them was a great storyteller. The life you live is a legacy you give, and Sister Shirley gave us a great one.
I'm Sister Janet Heberkamp, and I have a message from a great niece, Julie Pillard-Plemer. She writes, I am deeply saddened by the loss of such a delightful woman. I fondly remember the stories and pictures that Sister Shirley shared with me over the years as I grew. Having not met my grandfather, her brother, this meant the world to me. She recognized my love of family history and enriched it. I will be forever grateful for the time and memories I was able to share with her. May Sister Shirley be welcomed as a faithful and wise steward of the Lord.
My name is Sister Rita Green, and I have a message from Sister Shirley's niece, Cassie. There are many fond memories that I have of Aunt Shirley, also known as Sister Shirley. But my favorite one is this. She had come to visit us one year in Florida. I was a young kid, probably 10 years old or younger. One day, we went on a glass-bottom boat ride. Sounds fun, right? Well, I got extremely seasick. Aunt Shirley could tell that I was not feeling well, and she had offered for me to rest my head on her shoulder until I started to feel better. Nevertheless, to say, my head was on her shoulder until the boat went back to shore. To this day, when I close my eyes and think about that day, I can still feel how safe and comforting she had made me feel. Aunt Shirley was a special person in my life. She was a kind, caring person who was always there to help someone in need. There are so many things that I will miss about her. Our conversations, her laugh, the letters and cards that she would send to me, but mostly important, her. Until we meet again, Aunt Shirley, you will always be in my heart.
Well, I have this memory of, thank you. I'm Sister Janet May. And I have this memory of Shirley when I was living at Garfield. It was a time when a lot of the sisters here were asked to go out to missions because there was renovation happening here. And she came to Garfield. She was a delight to live with. But one of the situations that happened there is we had bananas on the counter. And I was always noticing that the last bananas kept getting blacker and blacker and no one was eating them. So I said, well, and I would always end up eating them because I wanted to throw them out. I didn't really like them at that stage. So one evening at the dinner table, I said, I think I need some help with this. I don't really like really black bananas, overripe bananas, and I end up eating them, the last minute. Can anybody else help with this? And she said, you're the one that's eating them. She said, I'm always waiting until they get to that stage because my parents had a grocery store and that's the only bananas we ever got.
I'm Sister Janice Hoffman, and this is a message from Sister Lene Rubley. I remember two of Sister Shirley's friends were Sister Laverne and Sister Gussie. Also, I have lived in the same neighborhood as Sister Shirley for many years. Each year, on December 31st, her brother Richard from Florida would remember her. He would send a birthday treat big enough to share with all of us in the neighborhood, and we really enjoyed that. One of Sister Shirley's brothers used to run a bowling alley in town. When he no longer wanted to run the bowling alley, he refinished the floors and donated the building to Hills and Dales. I worked at Hills and Dales at the time, and they were struggling financially and were not sure that they could keep the doors open. After the building was donated, the staff was asked to volunteer their time to cook meals for seniors at the new building. We wanted to keep Hills and Dales open, so we helped out. Sister Shirley's brother helped save Hills and Dales with his donation of the building.
I'm Sister Rita Getkin. This is a story Shirley told about 20 years ago about herself. It happened just before Christmas time, at the time that she used to ride the city bus to her work at the diocesan center. There was a woman who regularly rode the bus with her, among other passengers, a woman who obviously was not well-to-do, but gave Shirley a little gift right before Christmas. Shirley did not know this woman, and she must have looked very surprised and asked something like, why? Like, why would you give that to me? And the woman simply said, because you said hello to me every day.
My name is Marge Burkle, and I also shared this story that Janet did. When Sister Shirley came to live with us on Garfield Street in our community, the first night at supper, she shared with us that she didn't know how to cook, but she would do the dishes and she would set the table. And we said, oh no, Shirley, you're gonna be our helper. And I'll never forget, she was peeling potatoes and I thought, I will never get the joy of peeling potatoes like she got out of doing that simple task. And then one night at supper, she said, we're beginning to hear rumors that pretty soon the South Wing is going to be ready and we're going to have to move back. And she said, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. She really enjoyed living community life with us. And at that conversation, we said, Shirley, we're not ready for that yet either. So she was just a delight.
My name is Dorothy Swiniger, and I lived real close to Shirley these last few weeks and happened to have an opportunity to meet her nieces and visitors that were here. They were so faithful. They so loved her so very much. But one thing I want to mention is Shirley's sense of community service. There were many times in her life, many years in her life, when she did community service, working, especially as I knew her a little bit, when she was the secretary for the leadership team and kept the archives. And she did that so faithfully, so carefully, and kept confidences so well. And even though keeping up the archives at the end got to be a little bit difficult for her, Shirley had a great sense of giving back to the community. She was a sister to all of us in so many ways. Thank you, Shirley.
My name is Sister Margie Feldner, and my story goes back a long ways. I did student teaching with Sister Shirley. The two of us, second grade, with Sister Rosamond Bohr. One day early in our student teaching, there was a fire drill. So all of our 50 second graders went outside and the two of us went out. We weren't real sure about what happened with the fire drill. And when it was over, we were coming in and Sister Rosamond stayed out with the end of the line. The two of us went in early. We got into the room and then this man came to the door and he looked at one of the kids and he went, and the child got up and went out with him. And I said, Shirley, he's abducting that child. And she said, okay, you follow and I'll wait here with the rest of the kids that were already in the room. They'll never guess who it was. Mr. Bodner.
First of all, I'm Sharon Plemer, Shirley's favorite niece. The time that I remember about Shirley was when we were in grade school, and of course, all the nuns knew all the nuns. And because our last name was Kamentz, you never did anything wrong. If they knew Kamentz, it was Shirley's, and they were very happy with us. But what I wanted to say was, it was a quote from Lori's son, Kevin, and it was, Shirley, you're one fun nun. And that's how she was. She was always fun. And I was one fun, receptive, favorite niece.
I'm Lori Rakuzik, but I was Lori Kamentz for 23 years. Now I'm gonna cry, but Shirley was a huge part of my life. Coming from Minneapolis, I had maybe never seen a real nun in a habit, and I saw her one time in her habit, but then I think they changed the rules and she wore regular stuff. But being Lutheran, it was fascinating to see her, and she frequently invited Randy and my kids up here for supper, or to come to church, or to come to this, or to come to that. And when Kevin was born, he was sick and he was in isolation. And we had a huge issue with the priest from St. Mary's who didn't want to baptize him in isolation. And he didn't like his middle name either, which was Anderson. And he was not very friendly. And Randy called Shirley, and she immediately called that priest. And the priest was extremely rude to her too. And so at that time, Randy changed Lutheran, and Shirley was very happy about it. He later became a Catholic again, and so did I when Bill and I got married. But Shirley and Laverne loved our kids, Kevin and Kelly, and so they frequently babysat for us. And the kids would tell everybody in the neighborhood that Laverne and Shirley were coming to babysit. And Laverne and Shirley was a big show on TV in those years. And so the kids would all stand out in the yard waiting for Randy to bring them home because they knew it was Laverne and Shirley from Milwaukee. And it wasn't. And but they loved it and we loved it. And when she's always been there in my life. Whenever I had an issue about something in life, Shirley was there. And when I called today to make dinner reservations, that 9786 number, I thought, how many times I called that number to get Shirley? How many times we dropped her off late and she'd have to find somebody to open the doors at the convent to let her in? How many times she was with me over and over and over. When I married Bill, he became very attached to Shirley too. We did a lot of stuff with Laverne and Shirley. They were a huge part of our life. She was there when Kevin was born and she was there when Kevin died. And he was a huge part of her life. And I was so happy to see his picture in her room standing on the shelf there. She was just an extremely important person to this person who had never met a nun in my life, knew nothing about the Catholic people or the Catholic faith or anything like that. And she was just a wonderful mentor to have in my life. So I'm so grateful for her. And I know I can still talk to her the same as I talk to Kevin all the time, but she just won't physically be here. So that's a little bit hard to adjust to. But I'm grateful for all of you being with us and stopping in her room over and over on Friday and Saturday. It was so nice to talk to all of you and meet you. I think all of the nuns that I knew have gone. And because we took a lot of Shirley's friends with us at times, which was very fun too. So I'm grateful for all of you. Thank you.
I'm going to comment a little bit on the favorite niece's comment about her being a fun nun. Oh, well, I'm talking, I'm sorry. We can arrange that, yes. Anyway, I would confirm that Shirley was a fun nun. When I worked both here and at Shalom, Shirley was the congregational secretary, so she was around and living here a lot. And we would often call on her when we were doing programs of whatever kind to write a script for the program. Well, her scripts were hilarious, not to mention well written. And depending on the format of the program, she would fit right in. One time she wrote a script for a kind of it was a style show, but it was a farce of a style show. And she wrote the craziest script for that. Other times she wrote profound things. But most of the time when I asked her to write something, it was for something fun. And she came through 100%.
Thank you for sharing your special stories and remembrances of Sister Shirley's life. We will continue to share our memories of her during the days and weeks to come. Let us close with a prayer. Gracious God, Sister Shirley cherished the knowledge of your presence in her life. We now ask for you to be present with her family, her Franciscan community, and friends. May all of us, graced by her life, live with a certain knowledge that we are being held with your immeasurable love for us now and forever. We pray this in Jesus' name. Please join in our closing song, Companions on the Journey, 592. And after the song, I ask that you stay seated, please. 592, verse 2.
We